I woke up that morning with a strange mix of excitement and unease. It was my birthday. One I had always loved celebrating with my son Alex. I made his favorite breakfast, poured myself a small cup of coffee, and set the table with my nicest plates. A little ritual, a little hope. By 11 a.m., the house was still silent. My phone buzzed. Alex. I smiled, thinking maybe he'd finally remembered. But the smile died the moment I opened the door. He was standing there, suitcase in hand, with that familiar, apologetic grin. "Mom," he said, trying to sound cheerful. "We need to talk. It's safer for you if we do this." I frowned. Safer. He didn't answer. He motioned toward the car. My heart sank as I followed him outside, the morning sun harsh on my face. We drove in silence, the radio playing faint holiday music that felt out of place. Minutes later, we arrived at Willow Creek Nursing Home, a sterile building with gray walls and neatly trimmed hedges. "I packed your things," Alex said quietly. "It'll be easier for everyone." Easier? For whom? I froze, staring at the building. Inside, the smell of disinfectant hit me like a punch to the gut. Faces smiled politely at the reception desk, completely unaware that I had built my life long before this day. "You're leaving me here?" I asked, voice tight. Alex swallowed, avoiding my gaze. "Mom, it's safer. You'll have people your age, activities." I laughed bitterly, a hollow sound that echoed in the empty car park. "My birthday. You brought me here on my birthday." He gestured to the trunk. My suitcase was already packed. I realized then that this wasn't just care. It was abandonment disguised as concern. I didn't cry. Not yet. I sat in the lobby, signing papers, feeling a strange mix of fury and resolve. My life, my independence, didn't end here. If anything, this was the beginning of a story he would never see coming. The first few days passed in a blur of routines I never asked for. Meals at fixed times, polite smiles from strangers, bingo nights I didn't care about. I kept to myself, observing everyone, listening to the staff chatter about residents, noticing the little things. How the nurses underestimated me, how my son thought he could control my life with a simple drop-off. But I wasn't done yet. I started small. I learned the daily schedules, the weaknesses in the system, the little loopholes that no one seemed to notice. I found out how the billing worked, the medication logs, even which staff were careless enough to leave keys or paperwork unattended. While everyone else thought I was adjusting, I was mapping my strategy. Every smile I gave, every nod I offered, was a mask, hiding the fire growing inside me. Then came the letter. A week had passed, and I got a notification that a lottery ticket I had bought months ago, long before all of this, had hit the jackpot. Millions. My jaw dropped as I read the numbers again and again. The timing was almost poetic. I realized then that I had the power Alex and everyone else had tried to strip away. They thought they were controlling me, isolating me, deciding my life for me. But now, the tables were turning. Money wasn't just money, it was leverage, independence, and the ultimate tool of revenge. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to confront them immediately. I let the plan take shape quietly, letting the anticipation build. When my son called, asking me if I was settling in, I smiled and said, "It's fine, Alex. Really, I'm fine." Inside, I was already planning. And when the right moment came, they would see that leaving me behind wasn't just a mistake. It was their undoing. When the news went public, it didn't explode. There was no viral video, no dramatic meltdown, just a quiet, inexorable unraveling. I called a lawyer the day I cashed the ticket. Not because I wanted to start a war, but because I wanted the tools to walk away on my own terms. The papers Alex had slid across the table on my birthday, the transfer of power, the consent he'd asked me to sign, didn't look so tidy under scrutiny. Signed in a rush, pushed while I still thought I was going out to lunch. The attorney smiled kindly and said the words I'd been aching to hear, "We can fix this." Fix it we did. Within days my name was restored on every account, the POA reversed, and the keys to my life handed back where they belonged. I didn't gloat when the lawyer called Alex to explain the legalities. I didn't yell when he came to the facility, face drawn with embarrassed anger. I listened. I let him stumble through apologies that sounded like rehearsed lines. I let him try to bargain for forgiveness. He was surprised to find me calm. I won the lottery, I told him one afternoon, when he finally sat across from me in a small meeting room, voice low. He went pale like someone who'd been punched and expected the blow. "You did what you thought was best," I said. "You meant to keep me safe, but you chose convenience over conversation. You told yourself a story that let you sleep at night." He tried to explain, but I stopped him. "Alex, I don't need your money. I needed your respect. So I spent the money the way it mattered. I moved into a bright apartment near the river with big windows and a kettle that never whistled alone. I paid off old debts, closed the accounts that tied me to the past, and set up a small trust that would ensure my independence forever. I hired an advocate who visited Willow Creek weekly, volunteered at their activity hours, and quietly reported on the care there. The staff who had shrugged and looked the other way were given training or moved on. The receptionists who smiled too easily were replaced with people who actually listened. I also started a modest fund for seniors. Just enough to help those who'd been quietly forgotten, the ones without family to speak up. I wanted my money to give dignity, where my son had given convenience. That felt like justice to me. Not spectacle. Not revenge that ruins lives. Real change. Word spread through family channels and neighborhood gossip. People read the local paper piece that described a woman who'd been left, and then rose again. Some called it karma. Others called it luck. Alex called it a mistake he'd always regret. The last time I saw him, months later, was at a small coffee shop. He looked older, shaken in a way money couldn't fix. He reached across the table, and for a moment I thought he might beg. Instead he said, "Mom, I'm sorry. I was wrong." I took his hand, not because I needed the apology, but because I wanted to let the hurt close on my terms. "I know," I said. "But I'm not the same person you left at a facility on my birthday." He nodded, and that was enough. People expect a revenge story to end with someone falling hard. Mine didn't. I didn't want to watch them burn. I wanted to stop being the kindling. Winning the lottery didn't heal the cut he made, but it let me stitch my life back together with my own thread. I traded their pity for a life I chose. Warm, loud at times, and filled with people who called because they wanted to, not because it was convenient. On the anniversary of that awful birthday, I baked myself a cake, set 2 plates anyway, and ate the whole slice without waiting for anyone. The room smelled like cinnamon and something sweeter, freedom. I toasted to no one but myself. If you ever find yourself abandoned on the day, you should be celebrated. Don't measure your worth by the people who left. Measure it by the things you build when you finally decide to stay.